because from the Doyleist perspective, the reason so much of the Spacers Saga revolves around the Titan, the largest moon of Saturn, second largest moon in the solar system, is that I am fascinated by Titan, and I have been for like 10 years now. It all started when I saw the movie Oblivion back in, I think it was like the summer of 2013, that Tom Cruise movie where he's like the last man on Earth, and there's all sorts of twists and stuff that are kind of derivative, but it's still an entertaining movie. But the thing was, in the movie, part of the setting is that supposedly all of the humans who have left Earth behind have moved to Titan. And I remember hearing it. I was like, I've never heard of Titan. I'll look it up. So I looked it up and read about it on Wikipedia. And I was like, oh, it's a giant moon. It's got a thick atmosphere. It rains methane. It's got methane lakes. It's like cryogenically cold, and it's got low gravity. But it would still be a cool place to maybe go. And yeah, so from there I started studying it and learning more about it. Like starting the very next year, I started taking classes at IUPUI, and took information and learned more about it through my astronomy courses, my undergraduate astronomy courses. And from there, I started writing. And as I started writing the Spacers Saga, and especially as the Spacers Saga evolved to really revolve only around our solar system, only around solar space, as we call it, Titan became very important. And again, as I said, the main reason for that is because I, as the author, am fascinated by Titan and love Titan, and I'm really looking forward to like the Dragonfly mission, for example, which is going to Titan later this decade. But from a Watsonian perspective, the reason so much of the Spacers Saga revolves around Titan is that Titan is such an important world, because it's a world where people can probably live without too much hardship. I mean, as we've discussed, these people who are living in these outer solar system worlds are mostly going to be living indoors, if not totally indoors. If there's any outdoor spaces, those outdoor spaces are going to be underground. Like basically like the closest thing you could have to an outdoor space is what was like that salt mine in wherever it is, Hungary or Romania, that's like been turned into an underground amusement park. It'd be something like that. It'd be like a big communal cavernous space where you could have like parks and parade grounds, whatever the hell you want, but it would be still under a roof. It'd still be under a dome or whatever. Thing about Titan is that even though Titan is like negative 250 degrees or something like that, it has a dense atmosphere. So if you were on Titan, you wouldn't need a pressure suit to keep your blood from boiling. All you would need is basically a warmth suit. You would need an EVA suit, but you would not need like a pressurized EVA suit. And the reason that's important is, for say you're going to a place like Mars or the moon, especially you go to a place like Mars or the moon. If someone punches a hole in your atmospheric suit or in your atmospheric like dome for your habitat, you could be fucked, because basically what's going to happen is the atmosphere is going to leave, and if that happens, your blood's going to boil, and from there, see ya. Thanks for playing. But on Titan, it wouldn't be that way. You run into other problems, but the main thing you would run into if you had a breach is that it would get cold. And again, the main thing is, because the pressure is actually denser outside than humans are used to, there wouldn't really be a problem from a breach, because it's kind of like it's a difference between low pressure and high pressure. If the pressure is lower inside, if the atmosphere is less dense inside the habitat than outside, the atmosphere won't rush out anyway when you open, if you were to say rip a hole in the wall of the habitat dome or whatever. But yeah, and if you wanted to go outside the dome, say to explore around, do science, do work, whatever, all you'd really need is a sealed up suit that like kept you warm and provide you with oxygen. Because obviously there's really no one thing that Earth has that really anyone should know is sort of just like entry level knowledge, like space exploration, is that Earth has the right mixture of gases for us to breathe. No other planet that we know of anywhere in this solar system or anywhere. Obviously, we don't know much about the atmospheres of other solar systems yet, or atmospheres of planets in other solar systems yet, but we're starting to, thanks to things like the James Webb Space Telescope. But Earth is the only planet we know of that or planetary body at all that has an atmosphere that we can breathe without having to have special equipment. because we've evolved here. We've evolved to be used to it. So if you went to Titan and you tried to breathe the atmosphere, first of all, it'd freeze your lungs, so you'd be screwed that way. But even if it wasn't super chilled, um, which of course is another thing, it's there's so many little variables that kind of get lost in translation, because if you were to say, well, what if Titan wasn't cryogenically cold? Could you breathe the atmosphere then? Well, if it wasn't cryogenically cold, the atmosphere wouldn't be the way it is, because the only reason Titan has an atmosphere of what it does is because it's so cold, because those gases are like that at that temperature, and at that mixture. Um, but yeah, but the thing about Titan, getting back to the main point, the reason Titan is so important, other than just that people could sort of live there, is that it's so primely placed. It's this huge moon, like I said before, second largest in the solar system behind Ganymede. It's the second. It's this huge moon out in the Saturn system, and that means that it's basically prime real estate. Um, because one of the main things, this is actually something that we're developing for one of our upcoming stories. I think we're going to talk about today, which is the Europa goodbye. It's shipping. The name of the game in the solar space for most of the history of solar space is interplanetary shipping, because you basically have goods and resources at one planet that you need to get to another planet, so the people there can use them or process them and send them back, or use them there and have them there, or send them to a third place. It's basically triangle trade, but in space, and I guess I can't really even say without slavery, because that's what Zarns are. That's obviously another story. But yeah, so to have that triangle trade, you need trading posts, and you need ports, you need places to station security forces to secure the trade routes and the ports and the trading posts and the industrial parks where all this work is being done, and the mines where all the stuff is being mined, and places like that. You can basically have all of those things on Titan, because Titan has resources, Titan has land. Effectively, one of the interesting things about Titan is that because it's so cold, the land on Titan is basically ice. It's like water ice that's frozen so hard you couldn't break it with a pickaxe. But yeah, it has all these things that you could use, and it's placed. It just happens to be so convenient, because it's the biggest moon in the Saturn system, obviously, since it's second largest in the solar system, and it has decent gravity. It's got a little bit of its own gravity well, and it's kind of like an interplanetary Rock of Gibraltar. The British used the Rock of Gibraltar sort of as like they're the jewel of their East Western Mediterranean holdings for hundreds of years. They still own it today, if I'm not mistaken. At least they still have ships and stuff that are based there, even today. And that's kind of what it is. It's a military post, it's a trading post, it's a mine, it's an industrial park, and it's a colony. There's people who live there. Obviously, not all that many. It's not like some sci-fi where there's like billions of people living on Titan. But because even at the time of the Frontier Wars, which take place after the Europa goodbye, and obviously the Titan Civil War after the Titan Civil War, there's only around 50 million people living on Titan there, give or take. And that seems like a lot, because again, that's the size of a sizable country here on Earth, but that's really all it is. It's like the size of a sizable country. It's not. I think we've discussed this previously, I'm sure, about how in the Spacers Saga, Mars, for example, doesn't have 9 billion people on it, like in the Expanse, and Earth doesn't have like 30 billion people. Earth has like 8 billion still, because it's basically stagnated in terms of population growth, thanks to development and things, and ecological collapse. And Mars and the other planets are just kind of small. But yeah, if they're following this along, Titan is very important because of obviously all the things I've said, and because of that, it then compounds itself. Because once you get a buildup of resources and population and economic activity on a certain planet, that stuff starts to compound, and eventually you get people who want to capitalize on that capital that's there to capitalize upon, and that's where we had the basically the Titan oligarch. works. There's like, I think it's, I can't remember if it's 5 or 6 families, but there's like 5 or 6 big families that basically that founded the Commonwealth of Titan, and they were the old, like some of the oldest and wealthiest families on Titan, and they basically ran it sort of as a fiefdom for a couple hundred years, and they ran it right up through the Mars Titan War. That's part of what led to the Mars Titan Wars. These families, they sort of some of their, around the time of the Mars Titan War, some of their younger members and associates started acting like warlords, basically, and carving up parts of the outer solar system, saying, "Hey, we're the biggest person in the outer solar, we're the biggest polity in the outer solar system, so we're going to take what we think is ours." Mars didn't like that. That's what led to the Mars Titan War, because Mars is saying, "No, we're the biggest polity in the entire solar system, the Earth, of course, and we're going to take what we want, and you can get whatever's left, and you can be fucking happy about it, or we'll kick you in the teeth." And that's what led to the Mars Titan War. And as we've discussed, after that, we had a bunch of people who were frustrated and disgruntled and disenfranchised, who then started agitating for greater sovereignty, greater nationalism, things like this, which led to the rise of draconism, which in turn led to the Titan Civil War.